Hi guys. Okay. I think we're live. There we go. I hope we are. Let me pull it up. I'm like, oh, I am living the Florida. Oh, nope, it's not working. Interesting. It's like not showing up with my video. Oh, there it is. Okay, great. It looks like it just loaded. Okay. I am living the Florida life right now, and I do not mean that in a good way. I was just like frantically texting. Like my mom, my assistant Crystal, and being like, oh, we're supposed to get hurricane Thursday. So who knows if that will happen. You know, those things change so much. It's so funny because I feel like it's like Monday and Thursday is like light years away in like hurricane predictability land. But I'm like, okay, just trying to plan for this in case. So anyway, that is where my brain was just coming from. And now we are, hey, Deborah. Now we are circling back to here. Hey, Crystal. Yeah, I just messaged you about it. It'll be fine. I mean, we're in a good spot where our house is at. And it's more just like the logistics of everything and getting prep for it and stuff. And then it's always like you get super prepped and then it's like, was it worth it to get super prepped? But you also don't want to not be prepped. It's like a whole thing. Anyway, I don't know. We don't have to talk about it. Um, it's just where my head was at. I'm like, do I have enough dog food? You know, all that stuff. And then also, people, go wild at the store. So I'm like, do I need to go to the store today? Anyway, mom brain. Thanks for reminding me to check on my parents. Yeah, I know. Michelle, the thing is too, is like, you just never know. Like it could be a non-issue by Thursday, but yes, I would definitely check on your parents. or tell them it's coming. Because I feel like that happens here too. We're all so used to it that we're just like, oh, it's fine. So anyway, that is that. But happy Monday. Thanks for being here. And this is not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is a mindset manifestation thing that I feel like I've been talking to so many clients about lately. That feels so important to talk about because it just does not feel like we talk about this enough as a space and as an industry. Thanks, Jess. I've worn this like twice lately, and everyone tells me that when I wear it, and so I feel like this is my new thing. I don't know if it's because it's in my winter colors. Michelle, you can tell me, but might need to be in the rotation a lot more. Bennett also really likes it because there's like a dog on it somewhere, and he gets very excited about that. So this is apparently the shirt. Um, so yeah, I just feel like this gets left out of the conversation a lot. And I think as someone who has talked about, taught on, has a program on manifestation, Happy Magic, but also as someone who has a background as a therapist, has a master's in mental health counseling, I feel like there's like a really important intersection here that we need to discuss and address. And I feel like so many clients have been kind of like in this recently. And so I just really wanted to bring it today. Okay, where to begin? I have like many a client example we can get into. Hey, Valerie. And if y'all obviously have questions, take it in the direction you want to take it, and I'm here to answer any and all the things. And then also remember, as a thank you for being here today, you get a chance to win a $100 gift card just for any comment as a thank you for spending your time with me while I ramble. All right, so here's the thing, and then we'll kind of like break it down, dive into the details. But oh, you just bought Happy Magic. Yay! Oh, you love the sound of this topic. So does Rebecca. Amazing. Valerie, you'll have to let me know how it's going for you. So I think what happens when we get very into like the idea of manifestation is that we think that like we don't want to give life to any bad feelings. It's almost kind of like we don't want to give too much attention or too much life to the tough stuff because we think we're going to create more of it. Um, and I think that that is really, really, really unhelpful and difficult. And I also have seen it really, really, really mess with some people around how we can interpret that. So, like, one of my clients, I was really struggling with something and I gave her a journal prompt around processing that. And she was like, I have to be honest with you. I feel so much resistance to doing that journal prompt because I don't want to give life to this. I don't even want to write it down. Like it literally scares me to put writing behind this because I feel like I'm going to manifest it. And it makes so much sense that we feel that way, right? Like when I think of Happy Magic, it's a journal program. And so we're basically like, put life and words behind what you want, right? Seems like it makes sense. So then when we're like, put life and words behind all of this bad stuff, we can obviously guess why there would be resistance there. I mean, that makes sense to our brains. Like, wait, so if this is how I get what I want, I don't want to put a ton of bad stuff behind that because then I'm going to get all these things that I don't want. I totally get that. And I think on the surface, it makes so much sense. And it also makes sense why we can even almost develop like a fear around that. Like, oh, I don't want to give life to bad things, or I definitely don't want to talk about it. I certainly don't want to write it down. Like, it feels like we get into this almost like spiral of it. So let's put that in a container here. That's one thing that happens. And then I think the other thing that happens is we hear so often online, like how much our energy matters and our energy is what sells and our vibe is what sells. And so I think we also get very much in the space of like, I must be high vibe all the time to make sales, to have a successful business, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you put those two things together, like, I don't want to give life to the bad things because that's what creates it. Plus, I have to be high vibe to make sales. Like, I think what we kind of unnecessarily or unintentionally do as an industry with those conversations is make the bad stuff so scary, make the hard feelings so scary. It's not just hard because it's hard. And oh my God, it might create all of these things that I don't want. And that is such a difficult place to be. Hey, Glenn, thanks for being here. Oh, thank you for putting that up, Crystal. Crystal put the link to Happy Magic. So I think that's such a recipe for disaster in some ways, because then not only are the bad or hard feelings hard and bad, but now we have fear around them. And that really ramps things up. Anyone relate to this? Let me know if you have been there or have felt that way, or even like hear that narrative in our industry. And I think that that's where it gets really, really difficult, because now where do the bad things go? Like, you're going to have bad feelings because you're a human having a human experience. You have life happening. So if I can't write them down, if I can't say them out loud, if I can't process them, where do they go? Where do they live? What happens? Like, I think that's such an important question that we don't like dissect enough, is like, I think what we do is we pretend like they shouldn't be there. Well, they shouldn't be there. If I was thinking about this in a more positive way, it would be this. Or if I could just reframe this, I should be thinking about it in this way, instead of going, well, they're going to be there either way because we're all humans having a human experience. And so if we're unwilling to do all of these things with it, where do they go? Yeah, Valerie says definitely, thank you. That's what I want to name here, is that feeling your feelings, good, bad, or indifferent, as a human does not hurt your mindset and manifestation process. Feeling your feelings, even and especially if they're bad, is one of the biggest hacks for getting more of what you want. I truly mean that. And I'm going to like go into detail about that. But being willing to go there and feel the things is everything, okay, when it comes to getting more of what you want. That is part of the process, as much as naming and knowing what you want is part of that process. Michelle said, gosh, I really got into my head around this when it came to, amen to feeling your feelings, said Alessia. Michelle, your comment just totally disappeared. I wonder if you just deleted it. We're going to type it again, but that's so odd. I'm so sorry. It was like in the middle of reading it, disappeared. If that was not you, I don't know what happened. I apologize. Um, Jess, how does one feel feelings? Asking for a friend. Okay, let's talk about that too. I'm literally going to copy this question because I feel like I want to like not miss that we answer that very specifically. Okay, so I just want to like go into an example really quickly because I think this is an important one. So one of my clients, she I'm trying to think about how to like share this in like the least identifying way possible. But she had a launch and it like kind of didn't go that well. I mean, it went fine, I guess I should say, but like for her, she didn't feel like it went that well. Okay. And she was like this about it. And like part of it is like, great, neutrality in business is such a thing. And then another part of me was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like you don't want to like name a feeling of disappointment or frustration or whatever. And so I kind of like dug into it with her more and I was like, hey, like it's totally okay if this doesn't feel like a thing for you, but like permission for this to be a thing, if it's a thing, like what's up? And she really had resistance. She was like, no, I need the next launch to go better. I like don't even want to like, like kind of was like, shut the fuck up, please. you know, like don't make this a bigger thing. And so we did like this whole like deep dive on it. And what we realized is like there have been so many feelings she's been having about her business, about this program in particular, that she has been trying to push down, not name, get over, reframe, da, da, da. Like doesn't even want to bring it to our session, doesn't even want to bring it to me because she's just like, stop, 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 right? And so then we're like, well, of course that launch probably didn't perform the way you wanted it to. Because up here, you're like, it's fine. This is a great program. It's totally good. But like down here, there's all this shit that you're like bearing, not wanting to name, not wanting to feel, not wanting to address, right? So we did a ton of work on that. She actually ended up wanting to make some changes, relaunch. And she was like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. This is the easiest launch I've ever had. And I'm experiencing a lot of emotions during it, but it's the easiest launch I've ever had because I'm not so busy trying to shove all that shit down the whole fucking launch. Right. And it's so interesting because like old version of her was like, oh my God, shove it down. Don't look at it. That's the only way you're going to have a good launch. This launch, she definitely felt like more feelings, more roller coaster, etc. on it, but had the easiest and probably one of the best, if not the best launches she's had because she was willing to go there. She was willing to do the things. She was willing to feel the feelings. And because by feeling those feelings, it showed her what direction she needed to be in, what things she needed to change, etc., to get her more of what she wanted, right? Oh, great. Excuse me, guys. Jess Valerie gave you a book rec, The Confidence Gap. I haven't heard of that. I'll have to look that up. Michelle said I was definitely the one that deleted it. Okay, good. The resistance of the feeling is totally harder than dealing with the feelings themselves. At least that's been my personal experience. I think you're so right. That's exactly what this client was saying to me too. She was like, trying to shove all that shit down was so much harder than just going there. She was like, I really like found so much ease in just going there this time. And I really think that we all do ourselves such a disservice by this. So I'll share a personal story of this that I think is really relevant to business, even though it's not a business one. But in my first marriage, I did this all the time. I just thought my job was to shift things. So, like, if something happened that I didn't like, I was like, okay, I probably need to reframe that. I probably need to think about this differently. Oh, okay. I'm not feeling supported by him. How can I like internally resource and support myself more, et cetera, et cetera. And like, there is definitely something to that, right? There's definitely something to like meeting our own needs, shifting our thoughts, not putting our happiness and experience on everyone else. And it also put me in a situation where I was in a partnership and expecting absolutely nothing. And I mean nothing from my partner because I kept putting every bit of that back on me. Right. And I found myself completely lost in that. Right. Completely lost in that because I was so focused on like, what do I need to ship? What do I need to do that I didn't get the chance to go, oh, what I need is a partner who can X, 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 right? Is that a reasonable expectation? Of course, that's something to excavate, but like ultimately, I am allowed to have expectations of people that I'm in partnership with. Like that's healthy, right? Um, Oh shoot, I don't want to miss this. Okay, I'm going to read Nikki's first. Figuring out that we all manifest from subconscious rather than the conscious thought was a game changer. It's taken me 5 years, not saying that has to take that long for everyone, to peel back the onion to find those subconscious blocks. Such an important conversation, Lacey. Thank you, Nikki. I love that. Alessia said, I wanted to share, I started a form of therapy called IFS. I love IFS. It's internal family systems. It's been a bigger way to process deep feelings, and it's been such a game changer. And there's a book, Self-Therapy, based on it. IFS is so good. Um, Rebecca said, done that in partnership. Crystal said, me too. Yeah. On Nikki's note, like my favorite quote on that is Carl Jung quote, and he says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Right. And I think that's exactly what Nikki's saying. Like subconscious is where we manifest from. Until we make what's happening back here conscious, it is directing everything. And we're calling it fate. We're like, oh, that was just how that was going to happen. Right. And so really beautiful opportunity to go, oh, wait, if I'm always making it mine, if I'm always shifting, if I'm always going, oh, it's me, it's me, it's me, then I never get to shift my external circumstances, which is such a huge motherfucking part of our vibe, of our manifestation practice, of getting what we want, right? Like if I was in that partnership going, it's me, it's me, it's me, and I was never willing to go, hey, I'm leaving a relationship that doesn't serve me, of fucking course it was never going to manifest what I wanted. You know what I mean? Um, and so I think that there's like really something to be said for feeling your feelings is the hack. It is the shortcut. It's how we listen to ourselves. That does not mean we act from every feeling that we have. That does not mean we have to be reactive, right? But it means that sometimes we have a feeling because it's telling us something. It's our guidance system. And if we're not willing to occasionally be guided by that, what the fuck are we doing, right? And again, we have to discern that guidance. Sometimes the guidance is like, oh, you have this past thing that needs healed, it has nothing to do with what's happening right now. And sometimes it's, you need to change something about this program because it feels bad to you, because it is, you know? I had a client, another example, where something happened with one of her team members. And she kind of brought it to me and was like, oh my God, this feels so bad for me. Like, I cannot believe how bad this feels. What is wrong with me? Why does this feel so bad? And she was like, she is an incredible human. She is so well resourced. She's so like she's so introspective, she's so self-aware, et cetera. And so she was kind of bringing it for coaching on like, why am I having such a reaction to this? And as she was telling me this thing this team member did, I was having a reaction. Like I was like, oh my God. Like I was literally feeling very activated by that in my body too. And this wasn't even something that happened to me. And so I kind of said to her, like, what if this is an incredibly normal reaction to something that is actually wildly inappropriate? And it's like it almost hadn't even occurred to her until I said that, where she was like, oh, but we as women, especially in the personal development world, I think are so programmed to like shove these thoughts down. It's us, it's us, it's us. If I have any reaction that's above neutrality, I have something to shift, right? Versus like, maybe this is telling me that this team member is being wildly inappropriate and I need to think about what I need to do on that. And if I want to be high vibe, letting go of a team member that's being wildly fucking inappropriate is a really good way to do that. Do you know what I mean? It's not keep them on and keep shifting my thoughts around it 24 hours a day. You know what I mean? Okay, let's see. Ray said, I think so much thought work is just making the subconscious stories directing so many of our choices and patterns conscious, almost like it breaks the spell. I think, yeah, it's exactly true. Feels like self-attunement. I've been getting into this lately. So much of coaching I've heard before has been like, oh, I just got to think different on this. Yes. And I think like this is where, like what Ray is saying, you know, like making the subconscious stories and patterns conscious is helpful because sometimes, right, we do have a new thought we have to think. Like if I have always thought like, whatever, everyone hates me, objectively that's not true. And so me changing that thought regularly and reprogramming and finding evidence and discernment around the fact that like not everyone hates me is probably like incredibly useful work, right? But if that's always my go-to. And I never am like, oh, I really feel like this person doesn't make me feel safe or wanted or cared for. Hmm, maybe I'm not the problem here. Maybe this dynamic is also incredibly useful. And I think what's so hard about this is that there's so much nuance to all of it. And we just want to always have it be one way. Like we want to teach one thing, we want to have one message and that be it. And so I think that's where some of this gets tricky because it's like if, like kind of like a lot of these like thought models or whatever, where it's like, oh, this is how you solve every problem ever. Well, no, the fuck it's not. Do you know what I mean? Like I just personally, I just don't believe this is how we solve every problem ever. It's like the least nuanced or useful kind of approach to something because it fucking depends. You know what I mean? Yeah, Nikki said let's also normalize inner child and shadow work. Amen. Let's please let's all do more of that. Um, I have been doing so much inner child stuff recently, and I'm like very in that. Nikki, I've been like doing some shit around that, and I feel you. Have definitely falling into the maybe I need to think about this differently to my detriment trap. Yeah, like what woman hasn't, right? Yeah, exactly. Gwen saying it. Women do that so much. We attach so much emotion to other people's actions. Yep. This is so me, and now I'm learning different. Yeah. I mean, I think we're all probably always going to be like learning and unlearning this. I know I probably am too. Um, I really think that this is such a thing though. Um, because for me, if I think about manifestation, we think about even the conversation on vibration there and whatever, it's like a macro, not a micro. It's not like, did I spend an hour today upset? Right? It's like overall, what is my vibration? So I'll just give you guys another example. This morning I had a couple like stressful things happen. Um, and I was like, I can either push through this or I have to stop and just feel the activation I'm feeling around these right now and handle that and then move on with my day. Or I can low key feel this intensity all fucking day. And that actually will ruin my vibe and my peace. And so I literally stopped what I was doing this morning, even though I had a ton of work shit to do. And I was like, I'm getting in my car, I'm going for a drive. I went for a drive. I screamed in my car. I'm not kidding. I just like was like you know how sometimes just sort of get that out. I went for a drive. I screamed in my car. I like chilled with myself for a minute. I took some deep breaths, and I feel 100 times better. Like it's not even that big of a deal. It was just like a few different personal things kind of stacked, and I was like, oh, I like have to like get this out. That's it. Like it's just choosing to be like, I'm allowed to feel this and I'm allowed to process this physically, like screaming and or emotionally, like venting. I text Sarah, right? And then like my bounce back is so much faster where if I was like, it's fine, I shouldn't be upset, it's no big deal, it's like totally fine. Like I'm gonna go around the rest of the day or a week, like low key feeling this hum of intensity that does not help the vibe. You know what I mean? So I think when we think about this, like from like a manifestation perspective or a vibe perspective or whatever, like this is more what we mean. It's like my vibe is always highest when I'm willing to take care of myself, right? Sometimes that means screaming in the car. Sometimes that means leaving a bad situation. Sometimes that does mean shifting a thought. Like it fucking depends. And again, I think this is where it gets so hard because we hate it depends, right? We hate it. It depends is so hard. But it's also like where our freedom and safety is. Because if I'm always like, I can give you what you need right now to myself, that's where it gets good. Like if we're talking inner child shit, right? Like Bennett, it depends. Sometimes he needs me to like laugh with him and make him giggle if he's upset. Or sometimes he really needs me to just let him feel his emotions and process it out. And I have to have attunement to him to read that and figure that out. And that's what our inner childs usually need. If I'm like, every time I'm upset, I just have to change my thought. Every time I'm upset, like, whatever, I have to drop everything I'm doing. Like, I don't actually feel seen. My inner child does not feel served. I just feel like I'm put back in a box. You know what I mean? It's not helpful. Nikki said, well, I have to give you so much credit because you told me a long time ago you felt like I was a duck. Yeah, but flip-flopped. Like I was paddling super fast above the surface, but under the surface, I was actually calm, composed, etc. Absolutely sent me on a life-changing journey to uncover my authentic self and step into my power. Here to validate that mindset is the thing. Oh, Nikki, I love that. That makes me emotional. That's so beautiful. Lacey said, screaming in the car took me through some hard shit in the last 6 months. I need to look into the research about the benefits of screaming. Oh my God, yeah. It's like moving emotion, right? So when we say feel our feelings, like we all probably have that feeling in a different space. Like maybe you feel tightness in your chest or your belly. Like what moves that? And like sometimes screaming really does help with that. Like when Bennett gets upset now, like we talk about, like I always say to him, like if you're feeling really upset, would it feel good to scream? Would it feel good to squeeze something? Would it feel good to like hit a pillow? And it's so funny because I feel like it's almost like in boys, we would see that as like bad behavior. Like, oh, we want to teach him that, like, if you feel upset, you hit a pillow, right? And it's like, no, that's exactly what he needs is to like move some of that emotion. Um, and it helps so much. Like, we physically feel these things. I think especially when we're not attuned or, like in connection to our body, we forget how much an emotion is like a process happening in our body. And so if we don't give ourselves the chance to move it, feel it, process it, let it literally come out, it gets stuck and it's there and it's humming along and it's directing us and it's making us make certain moves. And it's that thing that's making us snap at our husband and our kids later, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? Like it is so there, whether we want it to be or not. My nephew spins around and throws himself against soft furniture to regulate, and it's the cutest ever. Good for him. I love that he's like, I know what I need to do here, Um, excuse me. Trapped emotions are so real. Oh my God, right. That's a whole other conversation. I feel like we could go down like a million things on, but it's so true. Like, and I think this is why, again, like if we think that like the key to manifestation or success or whatever is going, it's fine, everything's fine, it's all fine. Like it's not, right? I think of that meme of that like dog in that like burning house, and it's like, it's fine, that cartoon dog. It's like, it's fine. That cannot be how we manifest everything that we want, right? It cannot be that we're supposed to be like, oh, what if my brain just thinks the house is burning and it's actually not? No, that is not it. And so I just wanted to say that because I feel it also, this is sort of like the second piece of this. Oh wait, let's see what Nikki had to say. Just want to say that anyone who's gone through some legitimately hard shit, feeling reprogramming that doesn't mean trying to reprogram that it didn't happen. It's about bringing someone who comforts you, God, the highest version of yourself, into that story. And what would they tell you to do that in the moment? Your brain is too smart for it. It's fine. Oh my God, it's so true. I see that with so many like of my like really high performing clients or whatever, where like, um, I mean, this is like a whole other conversation, but I'll just say this quickly because I think this matters, is like, I see it with so many of them is that like, if I ask about like their childhood or their upbringing or whatever, I'm like, oh, like that really, 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 really hard thing happened to you. How do you feel about that? And they're like, oh, it's fine. Just made me stronger. I'm like, I mean, it did. And also like, can we give that any like sympathy, any empathy? Can we feel like anything for ourselves in that moment other than like to try to write over it? And a lot of times for women, it's really, 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 really hard to do that, to be like, wow, that thing happened to me and it was so fucked up. Period. Not, wow, that thing happened to me and it was so fucked up. And like, luckily it made me everything I am today and it's totally fine. It's no big deal. Right? Wow, that thing happened to me and it was so fucked up, period, is such a reclamation. Honestly, it is such an important reclamation, but it is so hard to do. And it doesn't mean we don't say yes. And of course, like it shaped me and there are positives to it. But it's this idea that not everything has to have that positive to it. And it's really okay to name that something fucked up happened and it's fucked up. That's actually where we source power. Do you know what I mean? Like when we can call a situation for what it is and name it and own the bullshit of it is where we source power as humans. A lot of times it's not always going, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, right? That doesn't give us back our power in that situation necessarily. So I think there's a lot we could go into there, but I do think it is like a very normal thing for when we've kind of like moved past like a difficult event to try to just like write it off, push it down, like Nikki's saying, right? Or even go, it's fine, it's fine. Like that is not it, right? Nikki said, until we look at and process these things, they will quite literally block all of the things orbiting us that want to come in. Yeah. Allison said, I don't regularly set aside time to feel my emotions. Yeah, I think it's huge. Um, and I think that business comes with so many emotions, right? Difficult things will happen. Challenges will occur. There will be ups and downs. Like all of our shit comes out. And so if you are trying to run a business pretending that there aren't feelings to feel or emotions to process or things that are going to get triggered that have nothing to do with like your strategy, you're just fooling yourself, right? Allison, not you. I'm just saying all of us, right? I think that we, expect ourselves to kind of like not like it's almost like a problem if we're feeling big feelings around our business versus like, of course, we're feeling big feelings around our business. It's just, are we making space for those feelings? Um, and I think that this is the ticket. So like if we're spending time doing the mindset work, doing the manifestation work, part of that is feelings. Um, in my Million Her Form, I teach like a little process I do for mindset with clients, and I do fears, feelings, and future. So it's like, what are all the fears? How do we get them out? What are the feelings, both that we need to process and that we want to call in? Like, how do we feel those? And then, like, what do we want for the future? Like, all of that together helps us get more of what we want. If we're only looking at it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's positive, it's neutral, it's okay. We're missing so much of one, like the growth and lessons that we could be learning, but two, so much of like the human experience in all of this. And so I really believe that if we give ourselves more permission to go there, to feel the feelings, to get them out of our system, the likelihood that we get more of what we want is honestly so fucking huge because we don't have all this stuff building up and blocking us. Like Nikki was saying, like quite literally blocking all of the things that want to come in. We're like, nope, 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 Michelle said, I feel like the other hard trap adjacent to this feeling our feeling space is not belittling our feelings because something is not objectively as hard as something else. The feelings are valid no matter the circumstance. Yeah, totally. Um, I think that's very true. Like, I think a lot of us that have created success in business or different things like that do that too, where we're like, I mean, I really have no reason to be upset, but dot, dot, dot. You know what I mean? It's like, or what if you're just upset because you're upset? What if that's just fine? And the judgment of the feelings, whether it's that it shouldn't feel that bad or that we should be fine or that we should be able to like get over that thing that happened to us a long time ago or whatever. The judgment of the feelings is the hardest part of all of this for most people. When you're just like, oh yeah, that thing that happened when I was like 10 was really, really hard and I still feel triggered by that sometimes. Interesting. Okay. What does it look like to process that today? It's so much easier to move through that when you're like, oh my God, that thing from when I was 10 again, that's so dumb. I can't believe me. Da, da, da. Or like, oh, this thing that's upsetting you today, it's not even that big of a deal. What is your fucking problem? Like, that's everyone else's voices. That's a parent's voice, a teacher's voice, a friend's voice, whatever. It's like not the truest version of yourself that's telling you to like shut the fuck up. And so I feel like, again, it's just like the work for us is to be like, I'm allowed to feel this thing. Feeling this thing, acknowledging these parts of myself is the hack for more growth, for a better experience. So to wrap up and to like answer Jess's question, to your Capricorn, to answer Jess's question, how do I feel my feelings? I think it really depends and is honestly different for everybody. But I think it's not so hard to feel them. It's harder to not judge them is kind of like where I would start that. So I think one, just trying to identify them. I know this sounds so cheesy and so therapist-y, but like if I have a client that's struggling with this too, it's like the feelings wheel is great. If you guys know what that is, you can just Google the feelings wheel. And it's like it's a wheel that gives you like here are all the different kinds of feelings. So even being like, ooh, I'm feeling intensity. Oh, which one of these might it be? And being able to name like, oh, this is frustration, or this is disappointment, or this is, sadness or whatever is so helpful. Because I think that like that helps clear it up. So often when we're kind of doing those reframes, we don't even name it. We're not like, oh, I'm disappointed that this launch went bad. We're like, don't have a bad feeling about the launch, move on, move on. Instead of being like, oh, I'm a little disappointed about this launch. Disappointment makes sense here. My feeling makes sense here. I'm allowed to be disappointed. Okay, what does that disappointment feel like in my body? Ugh, feels like a stomach ache. It feels like tension here. Ugh, what would feel good to move that? Oh, do I want to take some deep breaths? Does that help it? Like you're just kind of like working through it and giving it some names. I mean, this is not like my area of expertise. I'm kind of just talking through my process here. But like, I just try to be like, what is happening? And then 9 times out of 10, it makes sense. And when it makes sense, I can relax into that more. Like, oh, I'm having this feeling because of course I feel disappointed right now. Or like, oh, I'm feeling like this person really let me down. It's making me feel really sad. Like, of course I feel sad about that. Like, it's really just like letting yourself go there. And then, yeah, whatever, like this morning, I was like, oh, I just feel really frustrated. You know, what helps me with that frustration? Oh, yeah, I just like need to tell someone I'm feeling really frustrated. And I need to like scream. And it's like that helped me move it. But it was like because I was able to name frustration that I was able to kind of like do those other parts where if I was like, why do I feel weird today? Why do I feel off this morning? I don't know what my problem is. Like it would have been totally different, you know, instead of being able to just be like, oh, I feel frustrated because this thing happened personally that like is frustrating. Duh. It's so much easier to get through it in that way. It's that validation. 99% of what I did with my IVF clients. Yeah. Allowing yourself to be 1,000%. Like when my clients do this with me, there is so rarely, and I think this is what's so helpful to name too. There is so rarely a circumstance where I think, that feeling makes no sense. Right? Sometimes there's a specific thought, like everyone hates me, where I'm like, well, you actually don't have any evidence that backs that up in this current situation. So let's talk about that. But like a feeling of like, oh, I feel really upset right now. I feel really disappointed right now. I feel really frustrated. I feel really let down. Da, da, da. Like I can almost not even think of a single circumstance where a feeling that a client has named hasn't made sense. And that is so important because I think that we can feel like feelings are just so crazy, so wild. We just like don't want to deal with them instead of being like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. Mhm. And when that makes sense, you build self-trust. Like, oh, it makes sense that I feel this way because it's actually really intense right now. Oh, it makes sense that I'm feeling really, really frustrated right now because something really, really frustrating is happening. Okay, I can trust myself here. Okay, that's fair. When you build trust with that, while also not having to react to it, is when it gets good, right? When you know you can feel the feeling without having to fix it immediately, you like, welcome to all of your power on earth. I mean, I'm kind of kidding, but I'm not. Like, when you know you can feel a hard feeling without having to fix it, like, stomp over it, push it down, react to it immediately, like, you source so much power. I can feel disappointment and sit with that. And I can trust that it makes sense and I can process it. And then I can decide what to do for it is like it. So good. So good. I'm not saying it's always easy, but like if there is like one thing that sticks most people, it's because it's that in business. They can't sit with disappointment, let's say, as an example. And so they do fucking everything that usually does not make sense to try to make sure that a feeling never comes up again. And so their whole business is built around this almost like piecemeal version of like how to make sure they don't feel a bad feel instead of being like, oh, I actually can feel a bad feeling and handle it and process it and be okay and then decide what to do about it. Like everything. Nikki said identifying the initial feeling is so important, like you said, because it allows you to look at it. Example, jealousy. Well, you may not actually be feeling that way because it's actually something you're capable of and life wants to give you. Oh my God, when you can control your emotions, you literally feel unstoppable, right? And it's not control in the way we so often process it. Like Nikki's saying, it's control as in like process, name, own, experience. Like then no one can hold those over you, right? When you're like, well, I never want to feel this feeling. So anyone that threatens me with that feeling wins. Like that's when life and business get really, really hard. So anyway, I think this is the hack. I think we have to really, really work on letting go of the idea that naming a bad feeling, writing it down, being high vibe 24/7, et cetera, is the hack. It's not, right? Being willing to go there, to feel the feeling and to come out on the other side of it, to look at what's in our subconscious, to look at how it's directing us, to process what we're feeling in our bodies, to give it a name, to give it life and space and acceptance is so, so important. That gives us the space then to go manifest the thing. So something I say to clients a lot is like, if we think about the space from which we're coming at like say I'm journaling about something I really want to manifest, right? If I was being chased by a fucking lion, am I mad like, am I going, everything is fine, everything is totally okay, no big deal, no problem at all? No, my body can't even access that at that moment, right? Right. So it's like if you have all these huge feelings and all of this intensity, are you really like just in this happy little manifestation place? No. If I'm calm and serene and have processed this stuff and then I go call in more of what I want, like that's the vibe. So hopefully that helps. I just really like, apart from like, let's get you more of what you want. I think like something that's just so big for me here is like, let's not make feelings so scared. Let's not think that they're calling in bad stuff or that, looking at them means we're like asking for bad things to come our way, et cetera. I think that that is like the one thing that can be so harmful. And so really wanted to just name that. Thank you, Lacey. I hope that helps. I love having these conversations with you guys. I feel like you guys had so much good insight, recommendations, et cetera. So I really appreciate this. I love you guys. I love this community. I am so happy to be here today and have this conversation with you. Oh, Nikki said using a psychological sigh is super helpful when feeling triggered so you can get back in your rational brain process too. Totally. Like we don't have to like manifest from this level of intensity as kind of the point. We get to bring it down, address from there. So I hope this helps. Thank you guys for being part of this. Appreciate you all so much. Thank you guys also for all of you who came to study last week. It was so fun to have you all there. I really loved that as well, and it meant so much to me. So hope you guys have a beautiful week. I'll see you all next week. Bye.